You probably saw the story if you read any of the left-wing media over the weekend about Patriot Front, a group of right-wing extremist fascists marching through Nashville. And they had American flags and they had Confederate flags and they had masks on their face, like they were Columbia University students or something. Like they were marching with the Democrat Intifada for Palestine. But they weren't marching for that. They're right-wingers ostensibly. And they had glasses on and they had hats. Okay, and they're all matching. Khaki chinos and blue polos, which is why, I think it was the outfits largely, are why, if you were reading the right-wing media, you read that these were a bunch of feds. Because they looked like those guys who showed up at the Justice for January 6th rally. I don't think we have a picture of it. Do you remember there was the anniversary commemoration of January 6th, the worst day ever. And it was obviously a Fed honeypot. It was some, half-baked idea from Quantico. And the guys who showed up to it just looked like they actually got out of the barber's chair in the basement of Quantico. They had all these shirts on with no logos. They were all very fit, looked like they had military or police training. They're all, they're standing around. Everyone's checking their sixes all the time with shades on. I mean, just it might as well have been military or law enforcement issue clothing. And frankly, it probably was. All with their matching Garmin watches. And so that I think pretty clearly, and I think the FBI has actually admitted as much, that the FBI has informants and agents on the ground in some of these rallies and different political events, just to maintain order or whatever, gather information. But that doesn't tell us much about Patriot Front. What is it? Is Patriot Front, as the left-wing media would have us believe, the marching physical representation of the MAGA Republican movement? Or is Patriot Front, as the right wing would have us believe, just a bunch of feds? I don't think it's really either. I am sure, I have no hard proof of this, but I would bet my bottom dollar that there are a bunch of feds in Patriot Front. And my reasoning for this, I guess I do have a little bit of evidence. My reasoning is federal investigators and law enforcement always infiltrate these movements on the left and on the right. They always get guys into the Black Panthers. They always get guys into the Ku Klux Klan. So I have no doubt that a bunch of these guys actually are federal agents, or at least federal informants and assets. However, the guy who runs it, Thomas Rousseau, who's this young guy who started this organization, I think it was initially called Vanguard America, then it rebranded as Patriot Front after some schism within the group, because these groups always splinter off into a million other groups. I think he, at least at one point, was a true believer. Maybe he still is a true believer. They might be feds, they might not be feds. To me, that's not the important question. What is important about something like this Patriot Front march through Nashville is, how are the mainstream conservatives reacting to it? This tells you everything you need to know about political violence on the right and the left. Patriot Front marches through Nashville. They're not violent. It would seem that Patriot Front, all they ever really want to do is just kind of march. They've got 100 people, say, and they march and they have their big flags and they make a big to-do, and then they go away. And it's a little suspect the way they dress and how they don't show their faces, but whatever. Let's say they're totally legit and they're sincere, true believers. They have nothing to do with law enforcement. What happens after they march? All the mainstream conservatives ignore or condemn them. That's what happens. Let's look on the left. What happens when Antifa marches? Better yet, what happens when BLM marches through a town? Well, Antifa and BLM are not quite so peaceful. They make just as much of a ruckus, they make just as much of a spectacle of themselves as the Patriot Front does. And then they also kill, pillage, and burn. They also loot stores. BLM killed dozens of people during that summer of love that burned cities down, sea to shining sea. And then even beyond the group, how do the mainstream Democrats and liberals react? They embrace the groups. Mainstream Democrats and liberals and journalists have defended Antifa. Mainstream Democrat politicians have bailed BLM rioters who committed crimes out of prison. Kamala Harris, the sitting vice president, who might be the Democrat nominee in 2024, she raised money to bail BLM criminals out of jail during that summer of love. Staffers for the current president of the United States, Joe Biden, raised money to bail those leftist rioters out of jail. That's the difference. Let's say that Patriot Front, it's not just a bunch of feds. Okay, when the fringe people on our side march around and make a fuss, we ignore or reject them. When the fringe people on the left go out and commit visible crimes and harm people and make a big fuss, the mainstream left embraces them. That's all you need to know. That is all you need to know about extremism in America. We hear so much about right-wing extremism. Give me a break. There is no such thing, for all practical purposes, as right-wing extremism in America. If Patriot Front is the best example they've got, it's a joke. You want to see political extremism. You want to see real consequential political extremism. Show me BLM. Show me Antifa. All the talk of political violence. Newsweek says the New Republic says Donald Trump is Hitler. Okay, show me Donald Trump embracing Patriot Front. I don't see it. Not that Patriot Front is looting businesses or murdering people in Nashville. Meanwhile, the left totally embraces BLM and to some degree Antifa as well. We've got our own reporting here at DW from our friend Luke Rosiak, who's observed that by analyzing official transcripts and official transcript corrections from the White House, Joe Biden's speaking errors have doubled in the last year. So Biden has never been the brightest bulb in the pack. I don't mean that to insult him. It's just a fact. Joe Biden, and he's kind of made that part of his shtick. I'm just a regular Joe. I'm Amtrak. I'm not some super genius. I'm just regular old Amtrak Joe, slapping you on the back. However, he used to be pretty good at talking. That was the one thing he could do really well. And now he's not good at talking. And we saw this in 2020, and then we saw it a little bit more in 2021, then we saw it a little bit more in 2022, and it's gotten much worse. The fact that his errors in speech have doubled in a year tells you something that I mentioned briefly earlier. Dementia is an accelerating disease. If you've ever had a grandparent or a parent who's suffered dementia, you know it can start to move real fast. It seems beyond a shadow of a doubt at this point that Biden has some form of dementia. So today, we see how he does. We saw him with the sundowning during the debate with Trump. Then we see him, he's a little bit feistier on the morning shows when he calls in, but he still can't get his words in order, and he flubs up everything. And that's in early July. And I think, and I still hope, that he secures the Democrat nomination for 2024. The Joe Biden you are seeing today might be Superman compared to the Joe Biden you see in September, October, and November. These diseases, once they start really moving, they start moving real fast. And at the very least, you can expect to see neurologists come to the White House a lot more frequently. That was a good clip. Now hold up, ring the bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. See you next time.